everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffing.com, Mana Traders, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like yourself. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Ruben Bressler.
How's it going?
Oh, it's wonderful. If you did miss our pre-show with all sorts of crazy stuff to talk about, patrons and subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early. And with that, we kick it off with our first pick in our giveaway. Get your chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffing.com by typing !raffle in the chat. But subscribe first to get two chances to win. Check those dangling primes. And support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. That is, of course, thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffing.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every single freaking day. And we have ourselves a first pick this week. I don't know how much people saw this one coming. Particularly, I don't know how much Legacy is played on Magic Online, but if you do, check out Mana Traders. But regardless, in Legacy, Expressive Iteration was banned. I think we've kind of come to the point to recognize that card as a mistake. And White Plume Adventurer is banned. Don't worry, I don't know what it did either. But White Plume Adventurer is one of the initiative cards. Yet again, was this a mistake to put into Legacy formats, etc.? White Plume Adventurer is a white and 2 generic mana, so a 3-mana 3/3, a rare Orc Cleric. When it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative, which means you go on a custom dungeon that does really powerful stuff. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, untap a creature you control. If you completed a dungeon, untap all creatures you control instead. Does not matter. Not important. The fact is that once you get the initiative and it starts rolling, your creatures get very scary. You start drawing cards. You start getting advantages. And in Legacy, you're rarely going to be hit back for them to take it from you. Right. For those who don't... Go ahead.
This was in the white initiative deck, which you will see a very similar mana base to things like Dragon Stompy of Legacy of old, using things like City of Traders, Ancient Tomb, and Spirit Guides, and Moxen to get these things out early. And so this deck would run Seasoned Dungeoneer, which is a 4-mana gain the initiative creature, and White Plume Adventurer, which is a 3-mana initiative creature, to get that on turn 1. And cards that garner a card advantage coming out on turn 1 is a relatively new thing in Legacy. A lot of the time, you don't necessarily have... You have Force of Will that's the king of the castle, right? Where expending resources isn't necessarily the thing you want to be doing if you're an aggressive or mid-range deck. However, with the Initiative or with the Monarch, this deck was also running 4 copies of Palace Jailer to draw extra cards again. You're getting that resource deficit back immediately, and so things like White Plume Adventurer were hugely popular, not to mention the fact that you can play a Cavern of Souls and make them unable to be countered. It was just a bit of a mess.
2 things for me. 1, banning the commander card from Legacy makes sense. That feels more like sloppy card production, because basically the rule is you produce a thing, it's legal in Legacy, unless we specifically say otherwise. So there's going to be a number of cards that just slip through without them being like, is this a thing we have to worry about banning actively? Because the less they have to do it, the better, right? They don't want a ton of things that they're putting these restrictions on. So that just makes sense. It's fine. I'm glad it's gone. We don't want Commander in Legacy, I guess. Expressive Iteration, Evan, was not a mistake.
Was
I
it?
don't think so.
This seems like a very classic example. So this is a treasure cruise. This is where it's totally fine in standard. It's good.
And that's my point.
It's cool. People like it. It's just busted in every other older format because it's too much advantage.
I think when they do a lot of playtesting, they playtest for standard and limited and not for much else. And then they ban when needed. I think it was a fine card in standard, and I am of the mindset that you should be playtesting for standard and not necessarily for Legacy unless it's in Legacy or Modern Masters particular events, and then we tune those and ban them as appropriate. I thought it was a great card, and I loved casting it in standard.
I mean, it is a great card. Yeah, I think it's
like that take.
It's too great.
I think that you're allowed to ban cards. I don't think it was a mistake. It was a very good card. It was our card of the year. It was a very good card, but was it ban worthy before this in any format except for Legacy?
It's
still legal in Modern?
Right. This is a very unique Legacy issue now. So for those who don't know, Expressive Iteration...
Pioneer, Explorer, and Legacy, still legal in Modern, Historic.
and vintage, right? So for those who don't know, Expressive Iteration is a blue and a red uncommon sorcery that came to us from Strixhaven. You look at the top 3 cards of your library, you put one of them in your hand, one of them on the bottom of your library, and you exile one of them. You may play the exiled card this turn. And so specifically in Legacy, the Delver decks, their drawback was you might run out of cards, and this card kind of ensures you never really do. So
how much of it is Expressive Iteration actually being too busted, or how much of it is it's dying for Delver's sins?
Right.
Because that card is just kind of good on its own.
Exactly.
And, you have to sort of tweak it and turn the wheel just enough to keep it from being the deck.
it's true.
This is dying for Delver of Secrets and Brainstorm jumping on that grenade for sure.
And they're never going to ban, Mishra's Workshop. Like, there's certain things that just happen. Like, Brainstorm's never going away. Clearly, they're okay with Delver. I mean, and I also understand them, bringing, if Delver's winning over a certain percentage, if any deck's winning over a certain percentage, generally there's going to be a ban hammer coming or something thereabouts. But yeah, I can imagine you can only play against this in the Delver deck so many times before you realize it's just completely busted. You can use it with Force of Will. It's obviously flips Delver. It gets you back in the game. It catches you back up, etc., etc. So, okay. Now, while they banned some stuff in Legacy, everything else seems fine. The standard ban list, the Meat Hook Massacre is still banned, which I think is still a correct ban. There's plenty of decks. If anything, right now, Standard is in like this crazy, like awesome format right now. Like, it really is great. It's super balanced, and there's a bunch of really cool ways you can go for it. And you can play your Shoulder deck, you can play your Soldiers deck, you can play your Esper deck, you can play your Control deck, your fast mono red deck. All of that stuff is viable and interesting, but no one plays Standard in paper. Like, seriously. We've been trying the cool stuff. It's not firing. We play other places, throughout Florida. Like, they're not firing either. As far as I know, in Knoxville, they're not firing. I don't see any events being advertised because people just don't show up for Standard these days. And Wizards, you got to do something. You got to do something to have a format this good that nobody's playing.
Interesting.
I've heard it's very good. DGen is doing 2 tournaments this month that are Standard because of how good we've been hearing. Mm-hmm. And we did a poll actually, on what format on Arena and Moto they would like to see our streamers compete in and have coverage for, and Standard won not close. And normally it does not win, and it's not even close. It's usually second to last.
Right. And somehow they've kind of made all these little pieces work, and it's really neat. And even the green-white toxic deck is great. I mean, it's wild to me. I can name off 6 different incredibly unique archetypes that are all super good ideas or choices for you to choose to play for in a competitive setting in Standard. Yeah, nobody's playing it.
And also, as we learned from the most recent Mythic Championship, Pioneer is in a good spot.
Yeah.
Lots of different types of decks, lots of things are possible. You can basically play anything, and if you're good at it, you can be pretty content with your record. So it seems like a lot of the constructed formats are in a really good spot.
Yeah, and I am excited for Ragavan in Historic.
You're the only one.
Look, man,
I am not looking forward to turn 1 Ragavan in my drafts, because that's going to happen, and I'm going to lose it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, am I going to lose it.
Well,
early access event, I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm just logging. I'll see you guys in 2 months.
He's mythic on a bonus sheet. I'm sure it'll be a very rare experience.
And then I'll still lose it.
You'll still flip your table because it's insane.
Yeah.
And nutty. But, maybe they'll let us play with it just for a little while and get some of that Ragavan flavor before they ban the living crap out of it, which would be unfortunate. But again, it's awesome to hear that these metagames seem fine other than Legacy, which, cool.
Legacy was in a weird spot. It was a 2-horse race, and they got rid of 2 of the pieces of the 2 horses. So we'll see how it goes now.
All right. Now we move out of the first pick to gather the townsfolk thanks to our sponsor, Mana Traders, the best tool to enhance your Magic Online experience. Use the code MAGICMIKES for 12% off your next subscription with manatraders.com. Tell them we sent you. You guys have been responding. We do appreciate that. Check them out. Go play those wacky Legacy formats.
Right.
Go play some Vintage. You can play Black Lotus right now. You can
rent yourself a Penny Dreadful deck.
Yeah.
We're doing right now, looking like weekly Pioneer tournaments. So if you guys are into that, pretty pretty good way for you guys to get into some of the non-arena formats.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of Pioneer, the Shadows of Innistrad Remaster is coming. Gristlebrand's coming. Snapcaster's coming to Arena. Like some really cool, interesting old cards, and some the new ones. Like obviously, Archangel Avacyn will be great to have, and some of the other standards. Huntmaster of the Fells is going to be awesome to also have there, so that'll be fun. Now, one of the things that they did unique before we get on here to MagicCon, Nurgle in particular, is that they are going to change the bonus sheet every week for the draft format. Have you heard this?
No. I did not hear. What bonus sheet?
There's going to be a bonus sheet for Shadows or for Innistrad Remastered on Arena, right? Just like Brothers War or Strixhaven or whatever. And they're going to have those are going to be cards from the original Innistrad block. Okay.
They're going to change it?
They're going to change it every week.
I mean,
at least 4 weeks is what I recall them saying.
100% no in the mainstream formats. 100% yes in your bonus draft archetypes.
Yeah.
Love it. Something spicy to play when you're getting bored of the format. Perfect.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm all for consistency in the thing that we have to be competitive in, and then throw some spaghetti at the wall. Let's have a good time. Do some cubes and crazy things. Not cubes, chaos drafts, whatever.
It is a remastered set, right? They can go nuts.
That's great.
High five.
And we still have access on Arena to the main format, whatever it is that, like, should we go to a Grand Prix type thing,
right?
We can still practice, and that is what is important to me.
There you go. All right, so one of the things they did here to get through Gather the Townsfolk officially is that they announced details for the Minneapolis MagicCon. In fact, I believe this morning they opened ticket sales. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe they are officially for sale.
Very cool. And so they put, I'll put some details here on the screen so we can take a look at it. And they have some various promotions and things for people who buy certain packages. Again, I don't know how many, like, $700 super VIPs they're going to get this time, considering the last time they didn't get much bonus stuff. Right? They didn't get
they're still trying to figure out. They're still trying to figure out the alchemy. They're still trying to figure out the mix of what do we give to people? What do we give to the rich people, and what do we give to the plebeians, right? Like, in Vegas, they gave a bunch of stuff to the bourgeoisie, and then in Philly, they gave a bunch of stuff to the proletariat. And no one was happy. Not everyone was happy after either event.
Right,
so they're still working out the kinks on the Magic, the MC events. So, I mean, it seems like the overall audience response from Philly was slightly higher than the overall audience response from Vegas. Is that accurate?
I don't know.
I mean,
I think there was some hurt feelings from both sides. I mean, I met VIPs that got the $1,000 swaggy thing at the first one, and they were just like, yeah, I wouldn't do this again. Like, it's just not there. The stuff isn't there outside of the thing that they were, I got my money back. Great. But that's kind of like random. And then they just didn't think that the badge came with enough stuff. And then it came with even less, and you didn't get the nice bonus. I feel like there was a lot more hurt feelings because people kind of bought the VIP this time expecting to get their money back, because what happened is like, oh, I'm going to scrape together $350 to buy this Pearl Pass or the Ruby Pass so I can play Commander. And it's like a hardship for me. And then, oh, well, if you bought $700 ticket, you just get to make money. You can resell everything for like almost $1,500 more at this point. And so people were like, oh, well, I'll just buy it as an investment. And then now they were then let down and the badge came with even less. From the creator perspective, we didn't get the stuff that we were promised. Only the creators that showed up in the very first half of the day on Friday, they got their creator badge. Everybody else did not. They gave us like a bag with like a handful of like draft packs in it, instead of the collector boosters, the secret layers, notepads, and official like magic pins and stuff like that were really cool. And then they didn't know what to tell us, so they said that, oh, it's the official word is that you guys get random bags. And it, like, the original one, like, we were promised, like, the backpack and, like, the whole thing. And they just gave us, like, the cloth string bag and, like, whatever was left over. Because they just didn't prepare. So, I don't know. I think all around people are really confused.
Yeah, I understand there being, and as we discussed, previously in last week's show, is that, they did give them everything they said they would. They checked all those boxes, and the boxes are here to also be checked, but I think the issue is that you kind of led with, there's extra special stuff involved, and now there's not.
Yeah,
and
they set themselves up for failure.
They kind of did. Now, the best thing they did for this show, hands down, is that there is no longer buy a command pass separately. You get to the commander area, you basically get to the play area, which is kind of what should have happened, all along, and you could argue, but regardless, we're here now. You access to MagicCon Minneapolis, you don't have to pay to get into the special commander area. Everybody gets access to that stuff, so that's great. But either way, these events have been huge, and they do have some packages that do look super sweet, and not to mention, it seems to be the only way you can play the unknown drafts.
Right.
The MagicCon event that is hosted by Gavin Fairhay, where he gives you stickered cards that do all sorts of weird, crazy, wacky stuff based on something that may or may not be happening. Last time it was whether the Phyrexians or the Mirrans won a certain number of points in certain events. Who knows what he'll come up with. I'm sure it'll be a blast. But that would be the absolute not miss thing I would do if I were going to MagicCon.
There is a very interesting piece of punctuation in this tweet. If you bring it onto the screen, is it on the screen? Let's see the tweet. Let's see Gavin's tweet, because there's a very interesting piece of punctuation I want to point out. I don't know that it means anything, but I will point it out regardless. Right. When Gavin tweets, "Who am I seeing at the unknown event?" ? Eyeballs. Mm-hmm. But you look at the tournament details. What's it called? The known event with a capital K. That to me hints that it's like an unset, like unfinity.
And you can argue these cards are uncards, right? Because they're stickered, they're weird, they don't do normal Magic
I
things.
think that that's an Easter egg. That's what I think. I don't know what it means.
I would pie bet that you're reading a lot into it.
I mean, I'm definitely reading a lot into it.
Yeah, I would venture to say it's not because I don't like your argument, but just because I doubt anybody put that much time into.
I don't like your argument; it's garbage.
Well, fine.
No,
I accept.
This is moving on here. We have some arena announcements. This is the part where I was talking about the Shadow over Innistrad remastered. Where they are going to bring back the meld cards. Like, they're bringing back Bruna and Gisela. Those are the two cards that you get if you buy the pre-order bundle. They're bringing the Handwear Battlements and the Handwear other thing that it melded with that I can't remember off the top of my head. But that's pretty cool. And, Bristella, Voice of Nightmare sleeve, for your nightmares. It's right there. Which is really neat. And, of course, the Arena Championship. Now, the whole reason I brought this up was because of Hot Pockets. We got to talk about Hot Pockets, y'all. Hot Pockets and Arena having promotions together. And I guess the first question is, how long has Gideon been dead now? 4 years-ish? Yeah. There he is, right there on the Hot Pockets. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I like Gideon. I think he's cool, but he's been pretty dead for a minute, so it's whatever.
But you're trying to appeal to the wide audience, and you need a decidedly male figure on the front of the piece of meat that you're selling.
Couldn't just put a Johnny on it, right? That'd be weird. Can't like cat things.
You can't put a cat boy on the Hot Pockets in the grocery section.
I mean, I think they just picked pictures that would be pleasing.
Right.
The only thing I want to note is that I think it is interesting that Vivian is in the ham and cheese because she makes boars. So, like, is that
all right?
How that's made?
I love it.
I don't put why Jace has Philly cheesesteak going on.
The ham and cheese Vivian is because she makes boars. I like that. What is Gideon?
He's a meatball.
He's a meatball.
Meatballs
all right,
and mozzarella.
I'm on board. He's a meatball.
Yep.
Chandra is like the hot pepperoni pizza. Yeah.
The spicy pepperoni. Yeah.
And we had one left over, and it's the Philly cheesesteak.
Jace,
sure, whatever.
It's cool. Now, it gives you certain codes that you can redeem, up to 5 of them, to unlock stuff. You get a pre-con deck, you get a new avatar, a new sleeve, and then Mastery Pass bonus XP, which is cool. But again, this is just like I didn't see this coming. I didn't see the Hot Pockets train coming down the pike, and yet here we are, of all the products in all the grocery store.
I can say nothing.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. So either way, they're talking about stuff to get and yada yada. But I just had to talk about Hot Pockets because Hot Pockets and Magic cards, not a thing we expected in 2023.
Hey, I love it.
All right. So do note that the MTG Dogs voting is back in action this year once again at MTG Dogs on Twitter. There is a full bracket. It does exist full of dogs. My cat Phoebe won't be in it because she's a cat. But if you want to check it out, absolutely.
Hammy can't be in it because apparently I have too many followers.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's
sure.
messed up. They follow.
I mean, yeah, if you're too big, like that's putting an NBA team in the NCAA bracket. I get it.
Right. NBA team and
Can we make different brackets like the streamer awards where it's
we should definitely have
feels like very little effort.
A higher tier dogs owners bracket of like more popular dog owners can enter this bracket where it's just you and Kibler.
Yeah, and I can understand.
And Mike.
Yeah, I mean, like Shiro wasn't allowed in other years because, again,
right.
I would understand that as well as Hammy.
No, Shiro won like 6 of them.
Oh, well,
really?
That probably
maybe that's why the rule exists.
Shiro won
maybe
several
this
times,
is the Shiro rule.
It's why things like that exist. All right,
but then they stopped it so nobody could dethrone Shiro. Not that anybody but Hamley could have, but...
Well,
I smell some... We should talk to the tournament organizers, because this sounds like some stuff that should be brought before the Supreme Court.
Jesus. All right, we're going to move on here to Desperate Ravings.
We'll get a Senate committee on this.
Some weird activity for the TCGplayer sellers of the world. A large percentage of them, we don't know how many they say in this tweet, received an email stating their account has been deactivated over suspicious automation activity. Now, on the other hand, they are doing like union votes for the employees and things there. Is this a coincidence? I honest to God, I think it's just a coincidence. The left hand doesn't always know what the right hand's doing, especially in super large companies, especially as a company that does as much business as TCGplayer, and the fact that they send all these emails out to basically people who may be using automation software, for TCGplayer. I don't know. It just felt a little weird, and I didn't see anything about it, so there we go.
A little strange.
Yeah.
No further input. But.
No, and they said it's it might have something to do with the cards. People using Card Trader, which I'm guessing is some sort of platform to have your cards at different platforms. Like for example, show up with them on eBay and on TCGplayer. This type of software is not unheard of in the industry, and it allows your inventory to be in basically 2 places at the same time. And when it sells on eBay, they take it off TCGplayer and vice versa, stuff like that. But we'll see where that goes. But again, in terms of like they did this because of XYZ, that rarely actually ever happens in my experience. All right, so let's move on here to some fun splash damage. This is fine. YuGiOh expands DQs, that's disqualifications, to include misgendering and refusing to comply with COVID precautions. First of all, great. Right? Awesome. This is cool. Second of all, could we have done this a couple years ago? I think you really made a better stance a couple years ago if this was the case, honestly. But in the late than never category, I will take it.
How long have we been back from COVID?
Kind of since the, I don't know, middle of last year, something like that, like June-ish, maybe some last year.
Less than a year?
I would argue.
Well, we started coming back.
This is fine timing.
Vegas was November of the year before.
Right.
That was the first event. It was like November, December.
Yeah. 2022 was pretty much when we came back to the
world. Sure. It would have been the best time to have done it would have been yesterday. The second best time to do it is now. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell them that they're doing a bad job because they did a thing.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
I'm certainly not angry at them by any means. I was just like, man, this would have been a hell of a thing to come out with in, late 2020 or early 2021, But again, I will take all the advancement I can get. Now, another piece of splash damage, which I thought was just funny and just weird, and honest to God, who did not see this coming? Funko is sending up to $30 million worth of its products to a landfill, as it is now more expensive to keep them in storage containers around the warehouse than it is to just write them off and let them die. And I just felt like Funko hit its peak like 5 or 6 years ago. And we're just kind of coming down ever since.
Yeah. I've never understood them. So it makes sense that at this point now they've overdone it. They have a huge storage. The thing that makes me the saddest is that the reason they didn't donate them to children's hospitals or charity to sell or something was because they didn't want to devalue the Funko Pops that they currently have into the market. And I think that sucks.
Yeah, that sucks. But
I mean, there are lots of little kids who would have loved the little Batman, Spider-Man, whatever thingies that are going into a landfill. And I'm sad about it.
That does make me sad. I mean, there was that moment where they were like, you can invest in Funko Pops, and I was like, y'all have left the station. If you think this is the investment vehicle for you, this is silly pop culture silliness. I'm astounded it kind of got this far. I mean, it's went everywhere. It's went Golden Girls, Marvel. I mean,
I'm not astounded.
All sorts of stuff.
This is how fads work.
It is how fads work.
So...
Pharmacist Judge, I still have my Beanie Babies, thank you very much, and I still love them very dearly. My grandma bought them for me. I think she thought they were like the kids' Hummels. I didn't. I just liked them because they were cute.
They were cute. They were fun. Yeah. I mean, and like, more or less like anything, things can be collectible for whatever reasons they are, and I understand that there's hard to get Funkos, and if you have some of those, awesome, and if you can make some money off of them, more power to you. But overall, Funko getting rid of their stuff was like, I definitely I definitely would rather them have sent it to small children who have afflictions, who could use the boost that the landfill will not provide, as it were. Yeah, Baby didn't like that either. She's not a fan. That said, here we have just a few more seconds. If there was anything else y'all wanted to chitter chat with before we move
we have a red zone that we need to talk about.
Oh, we got a red zone. Ooh.
We have a red zone that is concerning a movie that we've all seen.
We have all seen it.
This isn't an official red zone. I thought it was we had the pre-show
No, this is an official red zone.
It's a bit of a rehash, but it's okay.
It's a bit of a rehash, and I'm actually doing it because I think that I've realized the error of my ways. But it's not that it's a bad movie, but we have a disagreement of opinion on Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish.
It's not Cocaine Bear.
This is how it started. Evan was like, it's the best thing ever. And Ruben was like, yeah, it was amazing. So then I spent $20 and my only night off and rented it. And I was like, this is fine, but what the heck? This is not the Titanic of children's movies for the next 10 years. And I felt very disappointed by Evan and Ruben's assessment of the show. I thought it was good, fine, enjoyable. I would watch it. But did I need to watch it? No. I was misled.
I think you needed to watch it. I think it was very good.
It's hard for me to have this opinion after hearing your argument. I think it is worth $20. I don't know that it's worth your only day off.
That's a good way
going
to put it.
The theater. Like, I get that. It is a very good movie.
I could have waited for it to be on stream. Like
you could have waited for it to be on Netflix. Yeah. I didn't see it in a theater. I didn't spend my day going to go watch Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish. I didn't do all the things. I didn't find parking. I didn't buy popcorn. I didn't, spend half an hour looking for my seat.
In fairness, neither did I. I rented it on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
My enthusiasm...
It's worth renting on Amazon.
Right. I mean, first of all, I'm an enthusiast, right? So I just really enjoy enjoying things.
That's true.
And when I enjoy stuff, I want other people to also enjoy it. And so this was...
You feel a lot.
Look, I am empathetic.
You do feel things.
I'm empathetic to a fault, y'all. It's tough. But... so I want people to experience that, and so when I find something that's really fun and cool, I want to just make sure that basically you didn't miss it. Like, it'd been cool or totally fine if you caught it when streaming. I just want to make sure it was in your mind of oh, I should watch that because Evan says it's a good idea. And that's, because over the past year, as somebody who loves movies, there's not a lot of great movies. There is Everything Everywhere All at Once, You know, there is Puss in Boots too. And there's some other movies that are more sort of what I would describe as art house movies where, like, my mom would never watch that in a million years or get it or understand it. But Puss in Boots 2, great for little people, great for older people. Has jokes that go across those age periods, has characters that you like, has a plot that makes sense, has an ending that doesn't suck. Like, there's a whole bunch of things like that it could have stumbled and screwed up so many times, and it just didn't. And that, to me, is
I do think that Puss in Boots 2 is better than Nerd Girl's giving it credit for. However, I don't know that I buy... I'm not going to go as far as Evan. I think I'm closer to Evan than I am to this was not worth my day off. But I can also see both angles. I will, however, say that I would rather watch Puss in Boots 2 again than any of the other better animated movies that might beat it for Best Picture.
And for what?
Yeah, this year. Sure. I think it's a good animated movie that came out this year, probably one of the best. But, like, when Evan's, like, sounding alarm bells, I'm thinking that this is, like, the thing. The game changer, right?
There's a reason it's been in the box office for, like, 2.5 months now. Like,
because everything else sucks, Evan. That's the answer.
3.5 months. Like, it's been in theaters for a long time, and it's still there. It's still making money.
My hottest take is that Encanto's not good. I don't like it.
I didn't think Encanto was that great. I thought the bar was so low. I thought the bar was so low. Yeah. That was the best we had for the year, right? It was... all right, so that was somewhat of a red zone. It's fine. Let's turn the corner to the finisher. It is now March, and with it comes March Madness, the major college basketball tournament, but who cares about that? For us contrarians here in the Magicverse, we care more about Gavin Verhey's March Gladness, and of course, hashtag MTG Dogs, run by Mike Linneman and friends, and TikTok drafts are all the rage now. So tell me, if you were the head organizer for a 64-participant March playoff event, what would you put head-to-head, Ruben?
I'd love to run a tournament facing off my favorite D&D things, with things like my favorite cantrip spell, Druidcraft, my favorite subclass, Wild Magic Sorcerer, and of course, my favorite D&D monster, Wizards of the Coast's Legal Department.
Heyo, Nerd Girl?
Alright, well, I'm no stranger to running things. So if I were to be in charge of my own tournament, I'd run a tournament of my favorite tournaments, with my favorite things like Sealed Grand Prix and the Joust at Medieval Times.
Ooh, fun. Now, I would love to be the master of ceremonies for a tournament counting down history's greatest big, dumb, Johnny-time creatures in a tournament that I would like to call the Gluttivitational?
So I tried to make this the Gluttonvitational.
Gluttonvitational. I see what you did there, and I see how I screwed it up. But that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Ruben.
I should have given you a chance to proofread that one.
Because you know I don't. I run it live.
I know. I should have warned you ahead of time. That's on me.
There you go. That said, we move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffEat.com, our co-sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, MTG Nerd Girl, and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.